Hey, it's Miss Kelly Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. All right, today we have some special guests here from Furnished Finder, and we are going to be able to get a lot of questions answered. Now, yes, I was able to receive some information, but I thought it would be best for you guys to hear it straight from people from Furnished Finder so that you know what to do to help improve your listings and help improve your midterm rental business. So we have Kelly, another Kelly.
Hi guys.
Then we have Katie. So
hello.
Yes, please go ahead. Let's start with Kelly. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kellie Bailey. I am Furnished Finder's podcast host of a show called The Landlord Diaries, where essentially we tell stories about Furnished Finder landlords and what kind of advice they have for other landlords and just, what makes them special. And Miss Kelly Michelle's episode will be released here in the next couple of months. We're very excited about that. And then as far as the landlord side, my husband and I own and operate 5 midterm rentals in the Austin, Texas area. And then we partner on one. So making 6 in total around the Austin area.
Great. All right, Katie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Katie Lyon. I am the marketing director for Furnished Finder, and I'm also Kelly's co-host on the Landlord Diaries. So I am in charge of making sure that all of the wonderful landlords out there know about Furnished Finder and know the best ways to use it, and then also making sure that all of these midterm travelers know about us as well. So I get the lovely job of spreading the word, which is super fun. And then I also get to be on Landlord Diaries with Kelly. So it's an amazing opportunity. We have such a great team and we're happy to be here. I also have a few rentals myself, which helps because I get to put myself in all of the property owner's shoes, and it helps me think like a landlord because I am one. So we have 2 midterm rentals right now. We have a couple long-term rentals as well. But I use the site myself.
Great. So like you just said, it is awesome that you guys work for the company, but you also have your midterm rentals. So you see both sides and have a realistic view of what you need to do to either make improvements or, what's working, what's not working. So that's really good.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful.
It is.
Yes. Now, let's go ahead and just jump into some of my questions because I know people are eager to hear this information. Now, what I usually do when I teach people about midterm rentals, I tell them to start with market research, and I guide them directly to Furnished Finder's website to look at the nurse demand statistics and the stipend calculator, right? So when I was looking at it, sometimes I was like, I'm not quite sure what this means, but I just kind of interpreted it on my own. But I want you guys to clarify a few things that may be a little confusing to other people, right? Okay. So when you pull up the demand and you're just searching for the demand in a certain market, whether it's your market or a different one you're trying to go into, right? And we go into that the demand calculator. And we see like the number of listings that have been searched versus the number of housing requests, right? Can you guys explain what goes into that number and how that's broken down?
Sure can. Do you want to take this one, Katie, or you want me to?
I can take the first part.
Go ahead.
All right, so let's talk about the first number you get is the map views and searches, correct? Is that what you're talking about, Kelly?
Yep.
Okay.
And I have it pulled up, map searches
Okay,
and housing requests.
So the first one, the map searches, is literally, if you think about a ticker that we have counting how many times people are literally searching that city or within 10, 20, 30 miles, whatever you set your boundary at. So those could be people who are browsing different cities. Those could be people who are very seriously looking for housing. But it's a generic sense of traffic that city is getting. Now, housing requests are different. A housing request is someone who's going on the website, filling out the form and saying, I need housing here. Please send me matches.
It's so convenient.
It really is. So those people are ones that are actively looking for housing in that area. So those 2 numbers are going to give you a good gauge about like general market interest and then the housing request, because not all travelers use the housing request. It's a service that we offer, and it's something that a lot of travelers use, but not every traveler is going to use the housing request, which is why we put both sets of data up there.
Okay.
And then the second number, the map and property listings page views, which is normally like triple what you see for the first number. Well, that one's pretty obvious. It means they've not only searched the map or put in a housing request, now they're actively searching and clicking on different listings saying, ooh, I like this one, save. I like this one, save. And so that is the two numbers. And then the last number that you see, you don't really know if it's associated with the number of units on and room rentals, like based off the pie chart, or if it's associated with the map searches and housing numbers above. It is associated with the map searches and the housing requests above. So example, Austin, Texas, had to pull that one up. So in Austin, Texas, we're ranked number 1 in the state of Texas and 24 across the entire nation. So that is being pulled from a combination of those numbers that we already talked about.
Okay. Okay, cool. Great. So that explains that part. Now, my other question, when we are looking at the statistics and we see bathrooms and it doesn't say 100%. And that always baffles me because I'm like, every property has a bathroom. So
I mean, you never know.
right. So tell us, what does that mean? When we see something like that?
So one thing about our website is it's constantly, listings are getting added every single second, right? So we have listings that perhaps they have a room available, but it's a shared bathroom, and someone might have just not entered the information quite accurately, which our customer service team is constantly working on to make sure that everything is like dialed in. But since with midterm rentals, there's a variety of ways that you can lease out a space, right? You can do a whole property, you can do a unit, things like that. There's also a lot of listings that someone might have hit publish before they were completely ready to go. Okay. Right. So that's where, you get that kind of margin there. But be confident that everyone does have a bathroom.
And we have so many of our places have half baths, like 2.5 and 3.5 or 1.5 baths. Well, that doesn't really count as a whole bathroom. So I assume that affects the number as well.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because I was like, what is happening here?
Right?
I must be wrong.
Because you start questioning, like, if this statistic isn't trustworthy, are all the other statistics trustworthy? Right. Yes, they are trustworthy.
Yes. And I'm glad, because realistically, I tell people, Furnished Finder, I mean, you guys are pretty much the main site for midterm rentals right now, right? So you've been in business for how many years do you guys know?
We've been in business, for coming up on 10 years.
Okay. So you are established. So you have track records. The data is something we can trust. And it's only, we don't have to worry about long-term rentals in there or short-term rentals combined. This is strictly data that we can rely on. And that's why I guide people to your website.
Absolutely. You can count on the data and just know that it's always changing too. So if you look at it and then you're looking at it in a week later, it's going to be different because it's live data.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
I have a fun fact about that. So when I actually started on the product testing side and just finding things that could be improved on the website. And so one of the things was the number of properties being advertised. So a couple years ago, we were advertising 35,000 properties nationwide. Well, now if you look at the site, it's 150,000 properties nationwide.
Yeah,
it's
we're like coming up real close to 200,000. So.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So now let's switch gears. And a lot of people who have listings on the websites, a lot of times we see or hear, I'm not getting any bookings. Nobody's coming through from Furnished Finder, right? So let's go ahead and talk about people's listings. What can people do to create a great listing? So let's start there, and then we'll ask more questions about how people can improve things to get guests, right?
This is a great question.
Yes, but just to give better odds, just like any other booking platform or site, can't guarantee it, but it connects you. You're connected with some people, so your property is out there. People see it. It's just a kind of does somebody want it? Yeah, So what do you need to do to create a great listing?
This is a really good question. And there's a few things. And the first thing I want to remind people of is Furnished Finder is not a booking site. So you cannot list your property, sit back, have a cup of coffee, wait for your email to ding that says, you got a new booking. That is not how we're set up. We're a connection platform. We're a lead generation site. So you have to be active and you've got to reach out. But I think we'll talk about that more later. So let's go back to talking about how to make your property stand out. There's a few things. Photography is the most important, hands down. I know a lot of people kind of brush this off. They say, well, my iPhone does great pictures, or maybe I have the listing pictures, but it was unfurnished. A real estate photographer, a actual real estate photographer can get you great photos, depending on your market, for I'd say between $100 and $300, which will pay for itself so quickly. But that's huge because we are visual people in a visual society, and we are looking for things that pique our interest. And really good photography is the key. So that is a good investment. It's so worth it. The next thing is to assess your price. This is not a short-term rental site. So if you are used to getting short-term rental rent numbers, there's going to be some adjustment. And with that, like, it's just a different market, right? So take your time, do your research, and see what you should really be charging for your property, and keep it within that range. The other thing is, I would always say, do something fun to make your property stand out, right? We all have, if you're putting yourself in the eyes of a traveler and you're scrolling the site, do something that makes you stop your scroll. I know our latest midterm rental, we got a blue velvet couch, and it wasn't even expensive, but it's this really cute blue velvet couch in a condo that I will say is very 1990s. This is not like a bougie condo. Okay. And the first message I got from a travel nurse was, is your property available? OMG, I love that couch.
Okay.
And I was like, amazing. Like, that made her remember, like, oh, I want to talk to the person that has the blue velvet couch. Like, it just gives you something to remember. So Kelly, what do you think?
Yep. So I've been listening to everything you're saying. And so I want to dive into some of those. When it comes to, placement on the website, one of the things you want to keep in mind is there is a little bit of an algorithm that we're constantly updating. And so when you're scrolling the list of all the properties coming up available and you see yours towards the bottom, there are two main things that are affecting your placement. And that's going to be your calendar, keeping your calendar up to date. And we know it's not the most easy process to use when your property is available. You do need to stay active and updating it every couple days, because it's a fine balance between, we don't want tenants to be frustrated when they're looking the site, reaching out to landlords and saying, is your property available? No. Is your property available? No. So that's why we have found this balance to make sure that landlords are staying active on keeping their calendar up to date, and we're rewarding you for that. That combined with responding to messages. So if you get a direct message or a booking request, which, like Katie said, it's not tagged to the site, which is titled a booking request. Essentially, it's two forms of direct messages. If you're getting those, that is someone who reached out to you directly and says, I am interested in your property. Those are hot leads. Don't let those go. Reach out to those immediately. If they have their phone number, that's the best form of communication. And guess what? Furnished Finder likes you to communicate in whatever way is confident. We're not trying to keep you on the site to, increase our numbers. We're trying to make it easy for you in whatever way someone wants to communicate. So that's two things. As far as Katie was emphasizing the pictures and emphasizing like what makes a listing stand out, headline is always one of the first things you see. So if your place is walkable to cool things, or it's close to certain hospitals, or, you've got some feature that makes it stand out, put that in your title. And we don't limit the number of spaces in your title. Like you can make long titles. I'm sure it cuts it off at some point, but it's like you can put all those fun things in there that you'd like and start off with the most important ones. And then combined with that, you know, a lot of people get stuck in just taking pictures of their property. We're talking about travelers that may not know your area. Like someone knows, I like downtown Austin, but what's Georgetown? Where's that? It's like all these suburbs that we have homes in, you have to market those of why someone would want to come to your area of that city as well. So take pictures of the park close by, or, you know, the 30-mile biking trail right in your backyard. Like whatever it is that you focus on, make sure and include that into your pictures and your property description, because if they're not enticed by the pictures, they're not going to read your property description probably.
Right. Yeah, because I know whenever I'm looking at a property, like just say on Airbnb or VRBO, one of those sites, the first thing I look at is that's the pictures, you know, and then I'm like, okay, now where is it located? Okay, now let's dig deeper into this, right?
Right.
So great information, ladies.
Can I add one more?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. So the last thing I want to make sure and add is midterm rentals are constantly improving and growing. Like we said, we went from 35,000 properties a couple of years ago to almost 200,000 now. It's like it is growing. Your competition is getting steeper. So don't just sit back, like Katie's saying, jump in there and constantly reevaluate your pricing throughout the year. Look at your move-in fees. Like, is my deposit still competitive? Are my pet fees competitive? Do I want to revisit the idea of whether I should offer a pet-friendly property or make my property available for smoking outside, just not inside? So if you're having a tougher time getting someone to rent, relook at all those things and say, how can I improve my property to make it stand out over my competition?
Right. And don't wait until your property is vacant to do those things. Start, like, if you see you have a vacancy coming up in the next month, start making those changes so that you can get that property booked and you won't have too much of a gap in between your guests. So yeah, that's great. Now, we talked a little bit about the different types of leads that come through, but can you guys break down? There's 3 different types of leads. Can you define what those leads are and what they mean? So people are just clear.
Yes. So again, we're not a booking site. We're not Airbnb. We're not VRBO. We're a connection platform. So we try to sort these connections out for our landlords to make them easier, because especially if you're in a high volume city, you might get a lot. So we're trying to put them into some buckets for you. So a booking, hang on, let me get the actual language right, because I see it so much.
Here, I'll recap them. There's 4. We've got direct message, booking request, tenant lead, matched tenant lead, and unmatched tenant lead. So that's the 4.
We have renamed them a little bit on the site, Kelly. So that's why I want to make sure I get the actual the actual wording exactly right. So direct booking inquiry is how you will see it on your back end. A direct booking inquiry is someone who has seen your property, loves your property. They might have some follow-up questions, but they're like ready to go. They're like, I love you. Do you love me back? These people are like your prime leads. Connect with them and then just say like, hey, like, do you have any questions? What can I help with? When are you looking to move in? Okay. General housing requests. So these used to be called matched leads. Now on your back end, you'll see it says general housing requests. These are people who have submitted a housing request and everything on their request matches what you have, right? So we're saying, you're a match made in heaven. They just maybe haven't found your property and clicked, request booking, because maybe that's not the way they're using the platform, right? So these guys are ones that you want to reach out to right away. You're a match made in heaven. Okay. The last section is unmatched housing requests. And you might think, unmatched, why am I getting people who I'm not matched with? This might, think about it if you're on a dating site and you have told this dating site, I like, people who are 5'8" and have blue eyes and brown hair. And they're like, what about hazel eyes? Right. So they're just a little bit off. And if you click on those leads, it'll highlight what doesn't match what they're looking for and you have. So these are booking requests that people have submitted, housing requests, that someone has said, okay, I have a budget of $1,600 and maybe your property is $1,700. Well, we still give you that lead so that you can connect with that traveler and you can either say like, hey, I have a property, it could be a good fit for you. It's really close to your budget. It's not quite your budget, but here's the extra amenities I have. Or the date might be off a little bit. And I've had really good success personally in saying, hey, my property's not available for the first 5 days that you requested a stay, but you can get a discounted hotel through Furnished Finder. Would you be comfortable staying at a hotel for the first 5 days if I can get you into this property? More times than not, they're like, oh yeah, especially because we have discounts. So those are the 3 buckets. Kelly, anything to add there? I know, I'm sorry, I cut you off a little bit. I do that.
No,
so
I was
much,
helping you.
Kelly.
I was helping you. I was like, so I know these 4, I see them all day long.
No,
So
I see it all the time too. I just want to make sure that I got the language like exactly how it's labeled, because it's like, I want to get the verbiage just right.
those were all really well said, Katie. The only thing I want to jump in and say is how someone gets to these forms of leads that we're talking about in case you're new to the site or haven't started your account yet. So once you join Furnished Finder, then you have what's called your dashboard. And when you click on your dashboard, you'll see options on the left of where you can go. And then they have it also repeated in the middle. So you go to tenant leads to see all of the direct booking inquiries, general housing requests, and unmatched housing requests. And then there's a tab called messages to go to just someone that's reached out to you directly about a general question for your property. Those are also really hot leads as well.
Okay, great. Now, since we are on the topic of updates, let's talk about some updates that Furnished Finder has implemented recently to improve the experience for hosts and for guests.
We're always looking to improve. Always. Kelly, we're a team that we quite literally get in a room all together and we sit at each other and we say, okay, how can we make this better? How can we make this better? Like, how can we make this better? It's always a goal of ours. I don't know if I want to talk about like specifics because I want this to be something that people can utilize at all times, even if this, is months from now. But I will say that updating your calendar has always been important and it's going to be more important, especially because when you're a traveler searching the website, it's one of the number one things you're looking for is availability, right? And that doesn't mean you have to get into the dashboard every single day and click the same date on the calendar. It just means to keep it accurate, right? But if you have said that your property is available February 1st, and then months and months and months go by, we assume that something has happened and it's rented or something's going on. So your performance in the search might reflect that. So it's just about being accurate because we want the platform to be really serving to the travelers. But yeah, we're always constantly doing new things. Like I can't even keep up. Sometimes as a user, I go on the website and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at how fun that is. Because there's just so many people behind the scene here and we're all working. And if you have provided feedback to the site as a user, we hear you. Like we are actual people behind the desks and we hear you and we take everything into consideration. And we're never going to stop improving.
Great. Yeah. And I know recently, within the last couple of weeks, I went into one of my listings and I saw that you guys added some additional categories to amenities.
Yeah.
Like cable speed and things like that. And I'm like, oh, I need to put this information in here. Or
right. And like
your
bed
property have a
sizes,
microwave?
bed sizes are in there now.
Yeah,
so that if you're traveling with kids or a family or something, you can make sure that like 2 people aren't squeezed in a full.
I was really excited about that one because every time you look at pictures, you're like, what size is that? I
No,
can't tell in
right.
the picture. And then you go look at the description, and it's easy to forget to put those details in your description. I've caught myself forgetting them before. I'm like, oh, I have to go back and put what kind of bed this is and what size it is. So
Mhm.
I really love that that was added because it just is clear what bed is in each room, which is nice.
Yeah.
One that if y'all are not already on KeyCheck, which is Furnished Finder's landlord tools, it's incredible. So that's what I'm going to say is jump in. If you are looking to improve your landlord tools on tenant screenings and leases with e-signature already built in and rent payments, our rent payment program, we've done a few surveys. 54% of tenants submitting a booking request indicate that they'd like to pay by credit card. And so we've made those things convenient for y'all as hosts and as travelers, that you can pay by credit card or by debit card or, through your bank account. And there are, of course, fees associated. That's just how our world is. But in general, you as a landlord get to fill out one thing at the very beginning. It calculates all your payments for you. And then you sit back and the tenant gets email reminders of, hey, your rent's due. It's really nice.
Yeah, Kelly and I were both pretty stoked about the electronic signatures on KeyCheck. Like we both did a little fist pump for that one.
Boom.
Boom.
Definitely, because I know I use a separate service that I have to pay for to do e-signature. So now I can cancel that and just strictly use KeyCheck because I already have a subscription with KeyCheck.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a plus.
And we heard that, right? Like we heard that, and that's one of the great things about Kelly and I being landlords too, is like, we're like, okay, like this is a pain point, let's solve it.
It is a paid program. So just to clarify, you do have to choose and join which lease subscription you'd like to have access to a variety of like 20 or 30 different documents and the e-signature feature.
Okay. I mean, but people are paying for e-signatures anyway. So
right.
Why not just do it in one place?
Yeah.
So for all of you out there who have midterm rentals currently, or you're about to start one, make sure you go out there and update your listings, because there are some new features on the site that you want to make sure you fill out so that, your listing can be seen and get, some people who want to book it, right?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and switch gears really, really quick. One question that I received in the Facebook group of mine is that what scams do you guys typically see through Furnished Finder? I know I've seen on other websites, but what have you guys seen as far as scams are concerned through Furnished Finder that people may be aware of?
Scammers. If I had the genie in the bottle, getting rid of scammers would definitely be one of my wishes.
Yes.
A big one is if you ever have a tenant as a landlord, if you ever have a tenant who reaches out, who's like, I will pay you twice the rent, like red flag, right? If you ever have a tenant who wants to wire you money, red flag. A lot of these things they're very instinctive red flags to us, but just listen to your gut and don't ignore them. We also have on the property owner resources section of our website, we have a whole big section on scams that can affect both travelers and landlords. But if you follow kind of the process that we've set out for everyone, which is connect with someone, make sure they're willing to pay a reasonable rent, make sure that when they communicate, the communication flows nicely, they're not pressuring you into anything. If someone has a hard time communicating, that can also be just something to be aware of. And then go through KeyCheck is the screening process. So KeyCheck is going to make sure that they are who they say they are. You can also ask them for a copy of their ID so that you can see that, your KeyCheck report. This was a suggestion from someone we had on the Landlord Diaries, where they got their screening report and then they said, okay, I'd also like a picture of your ID so that they could make sure that the two matched. Was that you, Kelly?
It was Kelly.
That was me.
Gosh, thank you. It's a
so
brilliant
smart.
So smart. Go through the process, right? And any red flag that you have that goes, this either might be too good to be true, or I don't know, listen to your gut.
Definitely, definitely. And, sometimes there are relocation companies that use Furnished Finder. Sometimes people are like, is this a scam? Is it not? And I've had to respond like, no, typically these people are working, they are a relocation company. They're using the platform to find housing. So just respond and see how you feel and make sure they have a valid company email address. You can call them and verify. So, you can still just verify those people as well.
Yeah. When in question, dig in, right? Like you said, like Google them, call their phone number. I'd even suggest if your spidey senses are up, ask for a FaceTime, right? And we suggest this to tenants all the time. We're like, how do I know that this is the actual property? To do a FaceTime. Even if you just see that person's face or a phone call, like our guts tell us a lot.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. So my last question, and I'll let you guys off the hook.
We can talk to you all day, girl.
Oh, thank you. So basically, you just talked about some of the resources that Furnished Finder provides. Let's tell everybody what resources are out there on your website that they can go take a look at. You guys have made it available for them. So just let everybody know, what can they go on your website and find as far as information?
We have so much. It's like, if you really dig in here, there's so much. So we do have an ebook that is packed full of landlord tips, especially landlord tips for catering to traveling nurses and medical professionals. Now, I want everyone to remember that Furnished Finder has evolved past only working with traveling medical professionals, but they still are roughly 50 or more % of our travelers. So yes, you want to be open to more than just that, but they are a big portion. Avoiding scams, preparing your furnished rental. On the blog, we have tons of resources. We have articles by leaders in the midterm space. We're going to have some articles by Ms. Kellie.
I have some on KeyCheck.
Yeah. And this is another thing that is constantly growing. We have an entire ebook on photos and photography and how to get the best photography for your property. It's one of those things where like, you just got to open the can and then all the worms are going to come out. Kelly, what are your favorites?
I'm just going to add one tip, because I hear everything that you're saying. And so then I see where we're missing the gaps. And we started off this podcast with, how can you make your listing stand out? And I don't know if y'all have noticed, but there's not many reviews out there. So that's what I want to leave you all with is, and if you look at my properties, I have 5-star reviews on all of them except any new ones that I add, because it's a balance. So if you're looking to get that leg up and really have someone trust you from the beginning, reviews is a great way to start with that. They're like, oh, this landlord's already been vetted. And some great ways to go about getting reviews is, like we said, Furnished Finder, you have to get after it. It's not a site where you just wait and they come to you. Reviews are not just going to come to you. So tips that I have are, you have to find that fine balance in communication of not communicating too much, but not communicating too little either. So if you honestly can't answer whether your guest had a 5-star experience or not, then you need to communicate a little more. So those are some tips, like when they're about to leave your property, especially if you give them back the full deposit, that is a great time to ask for a review and make it easy for them. Tell them, hey, here's my listing. It's halfway down, or you can press the button in your dashboard to send them an email. And so send that, but then don't forget to follow up. If for some reason a week or two goes by, we're in hospitality. It's a sales industry as well. So if you know they had a 5-star experience and they value you as a landlord, then don't be hesitant to follow up a couple weeks later. Hey, did you have an opportunity to leave that review? So that's my last tip for this episode.
All right, great. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for coming on here today and telling us all about Furnished Finder and how hosts can improve their experiences and have a great experience just using the platform, right?
Yes.
All right. So make sure you guys out there like and subscribe so you can continue to get information about midterm rentals. And I will be back with you guys next week. Do you guys have any last comments you want to make before we wrap up the call today?
I just want to encourage everyone to get out there. Get out there, connect with these tenants, and hang with Kellie Michelle. She knows what's up.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I'm in here. I'm in here doing the work.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Well, we'll be back with you guys next week, and you guys have a great day. Bye.
Bye.